Okay, dear Essie, it's a pleasure to have you here and a privilege for us to be able to hear your wisdom and your experiences about the Agile Learning Centers and self-directed education, but also neurodiversity. So the floor is yours, and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, and it's really lovely to be with you all. Hi, everybody. Nice to connect with you all as well. And even folk without their cameras on. Hello. From the UK, not very sunny at the moment. So we've just had an open day today, so I'm fully in Lunar mode, even though it's the summer, so that's quite handy. Um, Luna is just about to go into its fourth year, which is really exciting. We were just reflecting today, like what a huge journey it's been. Um, so we started 4 years ago in my family home just as a bit of an experiment. Um, so I had two children, I have two children that were just really longing for more kind of community at that point. So we'd unschooled for probably about 5 years, and they were like, we just want to see the same people every week and, be inspired by other people's stuff. And then we found the Agile learning model, and I was like, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. It's so perfect. And we started with about 7 children. And we just really, really slowly added children. And that was because we realized that the children in Luna found change really hard. And it took a long time for them to settle. And in that first year, what we started to realize is that we were attracting all the children that we were attracting were neurodivergent. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. The Agile learning model just works so well for neurodivergent children. And I didn't really think much of it. We had a very low demand lifestyle as a family. And I guess that had really also seeped into the Agile Learning Center. And we got to the end of the year and I was like, this is incredible. Like, we're seeing children that have been really traumatized in school or really isolated as homeschoolers that have neurodivergence and mental health problems come to Luna in a really sort of anxious state. Their parents are like, well, we're not sure if they're going to cope. And, within a few months, they're just totally transformed. And we didn't really think much of it, to be honest. It was just kind of, we didn't really have an agenda, but it just seemed to work kind of pretty much every time. And then sort of about 18 months into it, somebody sort of just sat me down and was like you really need to understand that this is kind of like really special, that this is a really amazing gift to the community that you're offering here, and you need to kind of speak more visibly about it. I guess we were quite invisible at the time. I wasn't doing it for any other reason than just to sort of meet the needs of the children that we knew. And I sort of started to think about that and ponder it. And then I started to think about my own neurodivergence and started to realize, well, someone pointed out the reason that we were probably magnetizing all these neurodivergent children is because I'm also autistic and, well, I'm AUDHD. And so very naturally they felt comfortable and um, without much of a big deal because we'd made so many adaptations, both to our environment, to the way we spoke, to the way we related, all very within the Agile learning model, but I guess maybe even more so. And I guess the more children that you have that are neurodivergent, the more that kind of like magnetizes more and they feel comfortable with each other. And I guess it really sets the kind of pace and environment of the community. So pretty much, I think everyone in Luna is neurodivergent. We crept up to about 16 children about 2 months ago, and then we're back down to 10 at the beginning of this school year because a lot of them aged up and have gone on to college and things like that. The other thing that's quite different about Lunar is we have 10 to 15-year-olds, so we don't have lower age children. Um, because the children in the community really kind of said that they preferred not to have children under 10, from a sensory and noise and I guess developmental reasons. I think children under 10 generally are maybe into a lot of different stuff. And so that's been really great. So we've very naturally attracted older children, which from what friends and other people that have settings have said has been quite difficult to do. Um, so yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell. We're quite small. We'll never go above 18. We have 3 facilitators for 18 children. And you guys can let me know in a minute, but I'm not sure how it is in the rest of Europe, but we can only operate for 2 days a week legally. We're only allowed to do that many hours. Um, so that has kept us kind of quite small. Um, we're now like an approved provider for the local authority, which I'm kind of experimenting with. What that means is, and again, it might be different in the rest of Europe, but in the UK, you have, if you are neurodivergent, you've had a diagnosis, you get something called an EHCP, which is like a care plan. And then you can apply for EOTAS, which is like a funding package to cover all your support and education. And sometimes the parents hold that, sometimes the local authority holds that. And we've had quite a few children come to Lunar that have HIOTAS packages, which is really great because it makes it really accessible for their families. And now we won this tender with the local authority that so more children with those packages can come to us and pay a higher rate, which is great because it makes it really accessible for lower or no income families. So that's quite exciting. So we're just about to enter into that whole new season. And I'm slightly curious. I'm very determined that that's not going to impact the culture of Luna at all from a bureaucratic an institutional point of view. If it looks like it's going to, we'll just end the contract. I've been quite clear about that, but we'll see. That's experimental. Um, but yeah, that's us really. I don't know what else to say. I'm really open to questions or yeah.
I have a question, Essie.
Oh.
How how does a day look like at Luna? Like
Yeah.
when do you start? What is the routine? Like, for example, just thinking about other Agile learning centers and kind of like the structure that they have.
Mm.
And knowing myself, I'm mother of kids with autism. So knowing also that kind of like having clarity and the structure for the day, it's important for them. So I just wonder that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great question. Yeah, so we make everything very visible. I love so many things about the Agile learning model. And I love the boards. The visibility of the boards has helped the children so much. So we have a huge board with everything that's going on in the day. We scaffold, so we're open on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and the days are bookended by an opening circle where the community collaborate and decide all the activities that we throw up on the board. Um, and then we end the week with a closing circle where everybody sort of says how it's been and anything that needs to change. We use the change maker board. And that has, both those things have just been absolutely incredible to use. So first of all, having the big visible board and people when they first come in finding their voice and seeing that their choices matter and then seeing that visibly, being able to go back to the board and check in as an autistic person, what's happening, who's going to be where, this group is going out, they're coming back at this time. All of those things have been so helpful for like reassuring and regulating people in the community. So that board is just really fantastic and also sort of for planning. And then the change maker board it's just been so amazing as a tool to give people again a voice. So people that are in a minority that have been very discriminated against, very misunderstood, they come and they don't feel valued. Their self-esteem is very low. And then they watch the community and they see that what people are aware of goes up on the board. The adults don't decide how to collaborate and problem solve, the children do. Then they see that change happen. They see it being reviewed and problems, and then they're like, I'm going to try this. And then it happens for them, and they're like, I actually do matter. And it's so different from when someone says, you really matter to us, to actually experiencing that they really matter. And I think that's the same with the Changemaker board and also having the board of activities. Just, you know, what I want, what I need matters, and it's up there, and everyone can see it, and that's really important. And then the a lot of our children are PDA, so having a lot of choice and not having to do anything, but totally choosing what they want to do is just incredible. That's just the whole thing around autonomy. You see these children just, they're like wings spread and they're like, this is my place. I can just be myself. So yeah. And then the days are just made up like any ALC of the children's activities and yeah, what they're choosing to do.
It sounds amazing, and I see hearts in some of the reactions of people. I
Oh,
don't know if you
yeah.
see them, but I see hearts.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
I have another question, and then maybe we can jump to the questions of people. One of my questions is, or my question is about decision making. Like, do you, for example, when the kids are together doing the change up during the change up moment, and using the community master board to decide like what things to change in the community or what to try out. I wonder if they vote or if they deliberate, like what is the democratic process that is in place, or do you use more sociocracy? Or I mean, I'm curious about the decision
Yeah.
making.
Yeah, so we're quite small, which is really helpful. We have like a stuffed capybara called Pedro, which is the sort of talking stick. So whoever's holding Pedro, is heard. So if somebody says, I'd really like to do this, we just say to everybody, what does everyone think? And obviously the more confident and louder voices are really able just to speak, but then we say, let's make some space for other voices, and we make sure that they're really seen. So it tends to be very verbal, and that's working quite well, I think, because we're a small group. When we got to 16, it got a little bit kind of crazy, and we used like those magnetic stick-it notes on the board to sort of say where their choice was. So different colored ones. So would you rather do this or this? Would you like to have this much money or this much money? How much would you like to use of the budget here or here? And it tends to be yeah, it tends to work quite well like that, either verbally or just on the board visually. And then some people just still are managing to speak in meetings because that just feels too much and too intense. So we tend to check in with them one to one after the meeting. What are you thinking? And they know that they're going to have that opportunity to share their sort of vote and their opinions. And so they're happy to sort of just wait and feed in that way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have many questions, but I will just give the floor to other people. I will see who wants to jump in, who has a question. Um, just please unmute yourself and just ask it directly. I will mute myself now.
I have a question, if that's okay. My name's Emily, and I am curious if you had to, and this is based on my own experiences, I also tried to operate an ALC exclusively. I didn't intend it to be this way, but it's kind of the same thing. That it just so happened to be this way, exclusively for neurodivergent, mostly autistic children, where I live in the United States. And I am curious if you found that you needed to teach them how to be in those meetings. And I'll give you some examples of why it didn't work for us. The kids that I had who were between the ages of 9 and 12, most of them did not understand about taking turns in conversation. And so they were constantly interrupting each other. And then they would get into enormous arguments that ended in meltdowns of multiple, we'd have multiple kids in tears or banging their heads or whatever. And I couldn't solve that no matter what I tried. I could not figure out how to, I tried the talking stick, I tried one-on-one teaching, this is when we're in a group, we wait our turn, the talking stick comes to us. And I never got there. And I'm curious if you had the same issue and if you overcame it somehow. Sounds like
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely had seasons of that. So luckily what we found, it tends to be more the kids with PDA that find it hard. And so what I was doing is what we'd always done is address it in the meeting, sort of like, and that wasn't working at all. That was making it way worse. And I didn't realize at the time that these kids were seeing that as like a demand and as a conflict. And so then they would enter into like conflict mode and it would just ramp up. And so luckily for us, talking to them one-to-one and just being like, how you doing? I don't know if you realize, but this feels really disrespectful and hard for other kids. When you talk over them, when someone's holding the capybara, that's the time to listen. You will totally get your time to speak. And that really, really worked with those kids. They were a bit older, and so I wonder if there's it makes it easier as they get older. Like there's just more capacity to listen and take things in. Um, where it got a little bit tricky, and I don't think we were particularly well, I'll tell you the situation. So we had a couple of kids come straight out of school, and initially that was like great. They were just like, this is amazing. And then all of their unraveling started to happen, and they really struggled to be in the community whilst they were working through all their trauma. And so they started to disrupt the meeting and they weren't feeling like their needs were being met. And that was coming out in the meeting. And we weren't able to meet their needs actually. And in the end, they chose to leave the community. And I think that was probably really good because I think it was actually really apparent that they had way higher needs than we could actually meet at that point in their life. And it happened really naturally that it resolved by them leaving. So I think sometimes it sort of it's shown up for us that it's not working because the need is too high. And that's not necessarily something we can resolve. And then the times when we've been able to, it's definitely helped doing it one-to-one. And also we've got an incredible parent that is a specialist in autism. So I just call her up and I'm like, what do we do? And she basically is sort of like training me as we go through and troubleshooting and giving me top tips. So that's been really invaluable because, yeah, sometimes it just feels like we've tried everything and it's not working. So I don't know. I haven't got any magic tips totally. And sometimes I think the dynamic between the kids especially like PDA kids, either they just like really hit it off, or sometimes the dynamic is like, this is just never actually going to work. This is always going to just be like this, and there's literally nothing we can do here because these kids are just pressing each other's buttons. And sometimes it's just like that you just have to we've had to just accept that, and then it will just play itself out. Either somebody will leave or the dynamic will change a bit. yeah, I'm sorry I can't be more helpful with that one.
No, that was actually really helpful. I just have one quick follow-up question, because I think you hit the nail on the head that the kids that I got had support needs that were beyond the capacity that we could give. I mean, there were 3 of them that I think needed an adult with them at all times, that needed that one-on-one support, and we just didn't have the staff nor the money for that. And so my reflection, because I would like to reopen something at some point, is how do you now screen for that? Like, how do you figure out whether a child is going to be a good fit for your program, or whether their support needs are just going to be too much at
Yeah.
the time?
I mean, we do the classic ALC thing where we have a trial period, but I have to say, there's been 3 occasions in that trial period where it's like, this isn't going to work, the dynamic isn't going to work. And we have been really clear before the trial period that that might be the outcome. If your child isn't able or doesn't have the capacity to go through the trial period and hear a no from us, then maybe think twice, because we don't want to put them through something they don't have the capacity. We're really clear about that. And sometimes it's shown up and it's been like, this isn't going to work, we're really sorry. And that's been hard. Other times the trial period's been like, oh, this is amazing. And then the issues have kind of surfaced further down the line. And that's been tricky, but we try and be so like transparent with parents that if at any point that happens, we're going to come to you and say, this might not be resolvable. Obviously, we will use every practice and tool that we have to try and support the children through this, but it may come to the point where we're just like, this isn't working and it's not actually serving your family, your child. And that's only happened once, and it was really hard. It was really hard because inevitably people that facilitate at ALCs have massive hearts and want to help children. And I think over the years, we've just accepted more that there's going to be kids that we can't help, and we grieve together. And sometimes we get offended parents getting really upset with us, and that we've just had to accept that this is going to be all part of the process. We have now got funding for one-to-one support for kids when they first start, so that until they're settled, some kids can have that. And that's quite exciting, because I think that could make a difference until their system is feeling comfortable and regulated and like it can trust all of the structure and the people. They get that extra holding, and I'm hoping that might yeah, it might help a bit. Yeah.
Thank you, Essie, and thank you, Emily, for your question and for the interaction also. I wonder if there is another question related to the ALC or to neurodiversity or any other topic of your interest. I see a lot of people in the room, so I hope there is a next question for Essie. I will mute myself now.
I have a question.
Hey.
Well, in fact, I have a couple of questions. I suppose I can just maybe stack them up quickly. Hi, this is Jana Clement from South Africa. So I'm just curious on a couple of things. How many PDAs at the same time have you had? Are any of the meetings mandatory for everybody, or are they optional for everybody? And then also with that, with PDA, is there any sort of exception that gets applied because of the PDA, or is it just sort of accommodations that suit everybody? And then if that doesn't work for the PDA, then that would be where that you wouldn't be able to meet the need. And then also with that, how do you envision the one-to-one support maybe changing that? What do you envision the one-to-one supporters doing? Thank you.
That's amazing. I might have to like touch base with you to remind me of the questions, but really cool questions. I just saw it in the chat. What's PDA? So it's pathological or pervasive demand avoidance, and it's becoming more understood. And because of that awareness, more children are coming into these settings with that diagnosis or that understanding. So we have currently 4 children with PDA, but they're quite different personalities. And we always consider how that's going to work. So the times it hasn't worked is when there's been 2 children that have had school trauma and PDA, and that's been really, really difficult to manage. So that's one question. The second one, when the kids come into the community, pretty much they sign a learning agreement, which is pretty much the same as all ALCs. And one of those is that the only requests we're really asking is that you come to the meetings. And we really spend a lot of time talking about why that's important. And we especially center that around, we want to understand what you need, and we want to make sure that you have a voice. And if you're not at that meeting, your autonomy and your agency isn't included in the culture, and we don't want that not to be. And so we make adaptations around that. So like the classic stuff, like you can bounce around on an exercise ball. We have loads of fidget toys. You can lie down. All devices get put away for meetings. But you can move around to a certain extent. And if you're not able to be in we also have a 10-minute timer. So we have one of the children hold a timer, and they let us know that's done, we're done. And if we haven't got everything fitted into the meeting, we say to everyone, how does everyone feel about extending it for 5 minutes so that we can talk about this? And we gauge whether people have the capacity for that, but we keep it super, super short. And that seems to really help as well. Like, I know this is coming to an end. I know the timer's going to go off, and I know the facilitators are going to honor that. When we haven't done in the past, when we've been like, oh, but we just need to talk about this stuff, then they're like, no, no, no. So that really seems to support that sort of demand lessening within their systems. If they aren't able to be in the meetings, I think that's a real sign that they're just, this isn't going to be an environment where it's going to work. It tends to be that they probably need a bit more one-to-one support. And they're going to find being in community too challenging. Yeah.
So that would be where I'm wondering if you envision the one-to-one support being able to mediate that.
Definitely.
In terms of maybe the supporter can be in the meeting and consult with the PDO separately, and the PDO doesn't, it's then optional for the PDO to be in the meeting. Do you think you could envision it working like that?
Not optional, because everyone else would really struggle with that. So like, it's really important to everybody to have agreements, and particularly autistic children to have agreements that are fair and just. And even if it's explained why this person is stepping outside, but hang on a minute, I want to step outside and I've agreed not to. So it gets quite complicated. But I think the one-to-one support could help somebody stay in the meeting. We have had times where there's been a few times where someone's having a really hard time that day and they're just not able to be in the meeting. And we're like, that's cool. And people really understand that as a one-off. We're not like dogmatic about it. It's not an arbitrary thing. And then people are, that's okay. But what we envisage is that one-to-one support will be somebody sitting next to that person to co-regulate. And if they're sort of struggling, they can say, how you doing? Or afterwards, what do you need in the meeting next time to help you? That kind of thing. So just to give much more intense support until they've adjusted. Yeah.
Okay, so then with that, I just have a bit of a follow-up question. What's the longest any PDA has lasted?
In Lunar,
Mm.
at Lunar. Oh,
Yeah.
we've had people there for like 2 years that are PDA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like good
And
amount.
haven't left yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had, I'm trying to think now. I mean, we've got one person who's been with us for 2 years, another person that's been with us for maybe 2.5. We had somebody that was with us for a shorter stint, 6 months. They
Mm.
also had ADHD and school trauma, and
Yeah.
it just became too much. It all became too surface level, and they were like, I'm out of here. Um, and we've had somebody with us from the start who has PDA, so long term, yeah.
Mm. Mm. Are there any other things that you perceive the PDAs particularly struggle with, or is it mainly the meetings?
Hmm. A really good question. I'm going to just take a moment to think about it so I don't, yeah, don't rush over if that's okay. I think one thing that's been tricky for some PDAers is if some have had consent to go out with a friend and others haven't. And this, if they haven't got consent from their parents, but other people the same age have, that has become a real perceived loss of autonomy. And it's had a knock-on effect to everything. And even though that's their parents' decision, they've started to view the facilitators through the lens of you are also an adult that's taken some autonomy from me. And that's
Mm.
caused some real breakdown in trust that has been quite hard to repair. So stuff around autonomy, I think, has been generally really good because it's such a low demand environment. But when there's
Mm.
difference in what different parents enable the children to do, that's been quite hard.
Mm.
Yeah. And we haven't, it's only really been hard if parents aren't unschoolers and we haven't done the good work of maybe sifting out whether they're the best fit for Luna. So they've
Right.
come in and they've wanted this for their child, they're desperate for this for their child. They've said yeah to the consent, the autonomy, the respect, but when it's come to it, they don't really want that. They want to still be quite in control. And so the conflict between how they are at home with their child who's got PDA and what we offer to the child at Luna who's got PDA are in conflict. And then the child is like, I can't do this. This is too tricky for me. I don't want to lose this sort of connection with my parents. I love what's going on at Luna, but I can't hold the two things. And so that's really shown us that we have to be much more thorough in our enrollment process. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for what you're doing, and good luck.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It's if you allow later, I could try to connect you also. If you, I mean, I don't know if you're connected thanks to the ALC network or in other ways, but let's see. I see also that Derry has a question. Yes, go on, Derry.
Hi, Essie, lovely to listen to you. And I'm interested, I'm also in the UK, coming
Hey.
from a mainstream school background. I was interested that you took kids, they tended to cope best with your environment and to get most from it. And their own opinion was that they shouldn't join until they're sort of 10, 11, something like that. And then I wondered to what extent the kids that didn't cope or that you didn't cope with, if you'd had them younger, would they have avoided some of the damaging experiences of mainstream school, perhaps, that have caused them to develop the difficulties that you then find it very difficult to cope with? And if that's the case, have you considered having a younger group? And do you think if you did, more of them would benefit and cope with your system? I don't know if I've made myself clear. What I'm
Yeah,
trying.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love that so much because it's thinking about more preventative stuff, right? Rather than just
exactly.
like
Yeah.
firefighting with what's coming our way. Yeah, we've absolutely thought of it, and we were hoping that there would be a new setting set up for those younger children because there's a huge demand. Um, but that hasn't happened yet. But that's sort of we're waiting for the right person to sort of to lead that and get it running. I don't have the energy or capacity for it. I absolutely do think that that would be really beneficial. But I do think the children that haven't managed in Lunar as a community probably wouldn't have come to us anyway because their parents didn't have the intention to homeschool them. They've only done that out of necessity when their relationship with school has broken down to the point it's unmanageable. And so I don't think they would have accessed something like Luna earlier. It wasn't because it didn't existed, it's more that they just weren't at that point in their journey with their child's behavior and neurodivergence. But I do think that there needs to be settings for younger children. It's just that doesn't exist here yet. I think there's probably more demand for younger children. And certainly like 7 to 9, it seems like around 7, homeschool kids are just like, we want more than just the home environment and the odd group. But we've really listened to the kids that have been with us for a long time. And we started at 9 initially. We were like 9 to 15. And then things just didn't work out for the kids that were younger. They didn't connect as well with the older kids. The older kids got frustrated with the younger kids. And then it just naturally worked out that we just started taking them a bit older. And then that made Luna really thrive for the older kids. And we just thought, let's just roll with that because I think there are less opportunities for older kids. And we just thought, well, we're meeting a need. We've just got to, you know, focus on that and yeah, hope something else comes along.
So many things have been happening in the last 4 or 5 weeks since we've got a decent government for a change.
Yeah.
But I'm really hoping that organisations like yours will find it much easier to get funding, and local authorities
Yeah.
will find it much easier to get funding that parents can use to send their kids to organisations like you. I really think that is happening, actually. And we've got a real challenge in letting ministerial advisors like Becky Francis know that you exist and that you're really doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
I don't. Are you part of the book Square Peg? I can't recall that your organisation was mentioned in it.
No.
Because what they're doing and what the new school is doing in Croydon is now becoming known to government.
Great.
And it's really important that you're part of that, if I may say so. Anyway, great to hear you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Derry. I love that question as well. I think it's, you know, I love it when people's minds are thinking about how do we get to the underbelly of why these problems exist and be more preventative, which is totally countercultural rather than just coping and just taking all the issues all the time. So yeah, really grateful for that question.
Thank you, Derry, and thank you, Essie, for the chats. I don't know. I feel blessed to be here, and I suppose that other people have more questions, so I will just give the floor. Otherwise, I have questions, but I will try to give the floor to other people. I will be muted and give you the floor.
Hi, Essie.
Hey,
I'm
Jenny.
wondering, do you have in your circle meeting and in your change up meeting, do you have like a set of questions that helps get the ball rolling for them? Or yeah, how do you determine your agenda to keep it in that brief 10-minute segment?
We keep it pretty simple. We go through seasons where we play crazy games to really connect people when they come in. So to land in the space, we do some crazy games. And then there'll be seasons where people are like, nah, we don't want the games. And then they just get straight into it. So we kind of tend to play a little bit rather than just doing it because this is what we do. Um, so the games I feel really help people to just land and be able to come in. Um, we tend to really return to them at the beginning of like terms or when we've been away from each other to kind of connect again, or when there's new people in the community. So I think the games are really essential. And then yeah, we basically just we start the day off by just passing around our capybara and just being like, I'm Essie, my pronouns are she, they. Um, this is how I'm feeling today, like, and I might need some quiet, or I've not had much sleep this week, so I'm just feeling quite overwhelmed, or I'm really up for doing some high energy stuff. So we tend to go around the room like that. Some kids are just like, I'm messy, that's it, and they pass it on. But, others are really like grateful to be able to say, this is what I need. Can you please respect what I need? And I think that's really cool because I think it's modeling to the others what it can look like. And so, there's no pressure to do that, but it still feels really good. So we do that round and then we basically just go into the scrum. What do you want to do? What are you feeling like? And it's a bit mayhem. Everyone throws things up onto the stick-it notes of what they want to do. You know what that's like. And that's it, basically. One of our junior facilitators is just getting it all up on the board. And then we're like, right, let's get to it. And that's it. Yeah, we keep it real short and simple. And then in our closing circle, we start off with the change maker and we make more time for that. That has its own 10 minutes. And if something needs more time, we're like, this needs more time. Let's make more time for it. If you want to be part of this, we'll make some more time next week. No pressure to, but if you want your voice to be heard in this issue or this awareness, you can come and talk more about it. And then we'll get a small group or the whole group, but it's a bit more choice based. But the ones that are like, do you know what? I'm not going to be sitting around talking for 20 minutes. They don't have to come. So that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How many facilitators do you have?
So we have 3 facilitators every day. So when we're at our max for 18 kids, we have 3 facilitators. And at the moment, we're back down to 10. So we're 2 facilitators.
Okay. Awesome. That's about the size I am too.
Yeah, it's nice, eh? I love that. When we've had 3 facilitators, we're like, this is the dream. Even though there's more kids, it's still, I know it's just so rich having 3 different personalities and all the different things that 3 people bring and the kids bounce off different, it's just, I love that.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you, Jenny. And I wonder if there is another question, but I actually can't stop myself now. So I have one question, Izzy, for you, and it's regarding what do you do when the children are overwhelmed from sensorial, like from or noise or from visuals, too many things going on? Do you have maybe a separate room, or how is the physical environment at your school?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so necessary, right? So we took a long time when we moved out of my family home and we grew. We took so long trying to find a space that wasn't going to be acoustically problematic and that had separate spaces for that reason. And the space that we have now isn't perfect at all. And we've had to like trial and error lots of different ways of being. But we have a quieter room that has lots of sofas and beanbags. And then there's a bigger room that's for kind of like the more noisy stuff. And the facilitators definitely gatekeep that and move people like out of that in a very, loving kind of way. We also have like a quieter space and people just gravitate there, put their headphones on, take a blanket. They feel super comfortable to be able to do that. Everyone does that. Sometimes people come in and they do that the whole day. They're just like, I've had a really tough time. I just need to be, and they know that that's completely, totally okay. And that's really, I love that. I think that's so special that a child feels this is the space. There's no pressure to be anything other than myself right now. And I still have a part in this community. That is like, to me, that's just like the ultimate yes. A child is sitting there with their headphones, not because they're avoiding or they can't do it or they're hiding, but this is what they need and they've chosen to do in this moment. Yeah. So we're developing that space and working on that all the time with the kids. How can we make it better? What would make it work better for you? And they come up with ideas all the time. In our ideal space, that would be a separate room. We kind of know what it would look like, but we're just not there yet. But I think yeah, that would be the dream.
Yeah, it's lovely to already hear that you are taking those measures. I mean, like my daughter, I know she has sometimes periods that it's that she just can't cope with anything actually, that she really needs to be just with herself. And yeah, many schools don't have actually that type of a space. So I'm happy to hear that the kids feel safe to put their headset and to be yeah, in their own for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, I will give the floor again to the the rest of the group.
It feels so lovely to be with you all and to sort of connect because we've been, there's only 3 ALCs in the UK. Yeah, 3 ALCs in the UK, and we're quite far apart. So it's amazing to sit in a circle of people that are like doing this together. It's great. I think, is it Charlie's got his hand?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing this, your experience, Essie. I wanted to ask about conflict resolution and whether you are implementing restorative justice, if you have small circles or you have more something like JC in the US with Sudbury. What is your approach to that? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. I think this is just a total work in progress for us. We had somebody that was trained in restorative justice, and we had some real conflict with some kids, and we tried to use it, and it it was just such an incredible process, but it took up so much time, and the other kids really lost out on our time as facilitators, and we were like, this is just too big for this small space and this amount of people. So we did take a lot of aspects of RJ, and now really what we do is we just do the classic thing of listening to both sides of the perspective, one to one, so facilitator with child, or if there's more children, and then we bring them together and we facilitate just listening, just trying to listen to one another's perspective and coming to some kind of agreement. And we always offer this idea of like, if it's two people, then maybe it's not your way, but there's a third way. And that's something that has been really expansive, I think, for people. But we're continually like working on this, and we have not perfected it in any way. But I kind of like that as well, because it's just like we say to the kids, we don't really know how to do this, and we're like adults. Do you know what I mean? You're well ahead of the game here. You're even willing to talk to each other about difficult things, which many adults I know aren't able to do. And so we really kind of like empower them around that they're even willing to be in a space with somebody where it's difficult. That in itself is enormous. And there may not be resolution today, we never force it, but we keep coming back to it. And we kind of really commit to not putting anything under the carpet, just really shining a light when things are really tiny. Like even when you're just like, I'm not sure about this, we kind of shine a light and we're like checking in with people. So yeah, I don't know, does that answer your question? We don't have a proper policy and process, but we have an approach of willingness and I guess humility of like, let's just try stuff together and see how it goes. And if you've got ideas, then we can throw that into the mix.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do you have a process that you use or tools that you use?
Sorry,
Charlie?
was that question to me?
Yeah, do you have processes that you use or tools that you like to use?
Well, yes. I'm speaking from Estonia. We opened. I was the founder of a democratic school inside of a public school, and yes, in the beginning we tried to experiment with the JC, the Judicial Committee, which was called something like the Let's Fix the Stuff circle. But then we decided to implement rather initially a more personal perspective into conflict resolution, involving the people, involving a mediator. Then, if not, it would go to the age circle and discuss with peers, listen to each other, all the restorative questions, also focus on the needs, focus on the getting to compromises. And if that didn't work, then the process would move on to the school meeting, involving the whole school community. But yeah, it's really nice to learn about also your practice. I think that what is the foundation is exactly the human contact, the connection with the person, listening to them, helping them feel valued and welcome within the place, and especially restore the relationship rather than punishing anyone, right?
Yeah, totally. And I love that aspect that you've brought in around bringing that to the peers. That's something we really like to develop, because that's what it's about, really. And like the kids always come up with way better ideas than we do. Like it always blows me away. And they're in that space, aren't they? And they're like, we get what it's like. And so their ideas are so valuable. So I'm really appreciate that you brought that because that's something we really want to develop in our community.
Thank you, Charlie.
I wonder if I could ask.
Yes, go, Sabrina.
I'm curious, I've heard you talk about at the front end, like trying to be more comprehensive and how to get the right families in. I have a really hard time saying, in essence, no, declining that, even though it's a good fit. When it's not going to be a good fit just because of your experience, we're in our 6th year, but then there is such desperation with families that just need this to be the answer. I don't know, how do you navigate that? Yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, I really feel you on this one. I think I definitely was just like, open doors, open wide, whoever needs us, come. And then, we just had such tricky times that I was like, we can't go through this again. It kind of made me go, this isn't actually helping the children and looking after the children and keeping the community safe. And so it made me step into a place of being more transparent from the start. But I think even now, having something in writing that we give to people right before they've even spoken to us to explain that we're really different. This doesn't really exist where you might get a no. And, that might feel real hard. And we absolutely understand there are not enough places for children, and that's really hard. And we just, we really, I guess we just call out the things that are really hard, and we say that we're really sorry before it's even started. And has your child got capacity to go through this process? Because we get it's really hard and it's not for everybody. And I think the more I say that stuff, and it is hard to say it, it reduces the amount of problems that we get into. And so I know it's the right thing. I do have a few people, I think I saw it on the ALC network where someone was like, have a list of other places that you might offer. Like, we're not right, or the dynamic's not going to work. Have you tried here? I mean, we're in rural Cornwall in the UK. It's like there's hardly anything. But we have done in the past said, look, we love your child, they're awesome, but they're not going to cope in this environment. They need one-to-one support. If you're open to hearing some of the things that we could offer, then let us know. And then when parents have said yes, we've signposted them to like therapists and tutors. And then actually, like with one family, they came back to us after a year, and then their child has come to Lunar. And for me, that indicates that they are a good fit. They're a family who wants to make this work, wants to take responsibility, is able to take responsibility, is able to do the hard work, because it is hard work, I think, unschooling, being in community. And so it kind of, I see it as a kindness to people that we're filtering out. We're not leading them into a place where it's going to break down and be re-traumatizing to them. So I kind of see it as a kindness, really, to them and their children and the other members of the community. It's not easy, but yeah, I really get what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great idea to have additional resources, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Go, Derry.
I wanted to ask Charlie if he'd have any objection to me putting the film about his centre into the chat, because I think Essie would certainly recognise some of the kids talking about your restorative justice approaches. That was a question for Charlie, really. Is he still there?
Charlie, yes,
Yes,
he
I'm
is
sorry,
still
I'm
there.
here. I'm just cooking dinner, following you. So sorry, what did you say?
I was asking you, Charlie, if you'd mind me putting a link to your YouTube film about Suvamai.
Yes, please, Derry. Thank you.
I can put it. Okay. Suvamai, by the way, translates from Estonian summer hill in English. It's not
cool.
an accident. Okay, I'll put it in the chat now. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah,
Thank you, Derry.
so much. I'd love to see that, and seeing it is so helpful as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a very interesting process already, 5 years moving on.
Yeah, we're just going into our 4th year, and in so many ways, I just sort of feel like we're at the beginning. We've got so much to continually learn.
But Essie, you also have so much to, so much wisdom already to share that it's amazing. I mean, I'm really super happy in this, feeling super happy in this meetup. Yeah. Thanks, Terry, for sharing the link.
Yeah, I hope it works. I haven't done the link is correct, but does that red heart mean somebody's tried to make it work and it works?
It's correct. I can open it. So
okay.
Definitely it works. Yes,
Excellent.
It is okay. Okay, so we can watch it later. Okay, well, I wonder if there are many questions, more questions. I just being aware of time, of course, for Essie and for me, we were actually just starting our talk because of the confusion with the hour. but for you it's already more than an hour. So let me know if there are more questions, or if we can call it a day and close it. But I will open the door again for anyone who wants to talk. There's something also. Oh, thank you. Yes, some videos about PDA. Yeah. Okay, super nice. Thanks
Hello.
for all the knowledge. Yes, Lenka.
I would like to have a question. Essie, how do you see the need for structure in neurodivergent people? Is there such a strong need for structure, or how do you see it?
Hey, Lenka. Yeah, let me take a moment. I just think it varies so much. And I think some people need more, some people need less. And it's a little bit of a balance, really. So offering the scaffolding, I think, is essential. It keeps everybody super safe. And then some people really want to know what's going on in the day. Other people don't want to know. So offering it and having it visible, and then allowing people to take it as and when they need it, feels really helpful. Knowing that they can come and check in with us, what's happening, who's coming. If they don't want to use visuals, that's also really good. So knowing that we're always totally open to go back over things is really important. We found some children have really thrived when they've had an intention at the beginning of the week that we then check back in. Other people find that too pressurizing, so that's optional. I think the scaffolding of the ALC model feels like generically enough, and then we add in what individuals need. I think that's the best way to explain kind of our approach, which I'm sure is really similar to other people. We definitely have a kind of like, this is our community approach, but we zoom in on individual need and add in what people require, and experiment with that sometimes. Sometimes they're able to tell us, other times they're not sure. And it changes and adapts according to those individual needs. Yeah.
If I might comment, Essie, I don't know how you feel about this, but from my knowledge of neurodiversity, and especially about autism, I would say that it's not that much about the structure. Yes, the structure is really appreciated, but it's more the clarity, like clarity about communication, clarity about what is coming, like clarity. It's like having some idea of what is coming in terms of conversations, in terms of the day, in terms of relationships with others, and in that clarity, actually, the structure is a gift. And for example, my kids went to Sudbury, and I have to say that they flourish a lot in Sudbury School, but in any case, they felt quite lost, quite overwhelmed, especially my daughter. And now, after the years, and I'm more in pro actually of the ALC model for self-directed education, due to my kids having autism, because it gives some scaffolding, some structure, some visual aids actually for them. So yeah, so I would say my summary is clarity more than structure. Like but and structure is one of the ways to have clarity.
Yeah, I think that's so spot on. And being a facilitator at the Agile Learning Center has really made me hone my communication skills, because I can be a bit like, I don't know, a bit la la la, and then people are like, what? What are you talking about? And it's made me really check in. Does that make sense? Do you need more information? Do you understand? And now people also are like, we really welcome people calling us out. We like really say you can call us out, and people are like, what are you talking about, Essie? haven't got a clue what you're talking about. And that's really cool too. So just again, that relationship of like, or you can just see on their face, they're like, what? You know? So yeah, the communication and being really clear has been really essential. Or else people get lost. People just are like, we're not really sure what's happening here.
Yeah,
And I feel
indeed.
really unable to connect and get
Yeah.
involved. Yeah.
Um, Derry already left. He left some nice message for us. So people
Wow.
are leaving. Yeah. I wonder if there are more questions, or how is actually your time? I mean, how are you doing, Essie? Can you still have some more questions, or do you want to
Yeah,
close
I'm
it? It's
happy.
more than an hour already.
Yeah, I'm happy to go to 1/2 past. My stomach is growling. I can smell my tea. So I'm like, maybe till 1/2 past would be
Okay.
good.
Okay. Maybe then let's have the last 1 to 2 questions, and then let's close it.
Cool.
Okay. I will close my mic and give the floor to you.
I was going to clarify, I can't remember who said it, but we don't advertise that we are exclusively for neurodivergent people. We are open to whoever wants to come. It just so happens that, you know, most people come are neurodivergent. I guess they're attracted to the setup, to the tech, to who we are, to the other children they see in photos. So we're really very happy to work with everybody.
Yeah, that's also typical. I mean, I see it also in my family, even just as friends. Somehow we tend to actually have more people on the spectrum around us. So yeah, it might happen, but we are also open to everyone. But it's somehow a bit like that. Yeah. I I think we might not have more questions. I think it has been enough, or I don't see reactions from the group. So maybe we can just thank you a lot, Essie, for your time. I'm grateful that you have taken the time to share with us your experiences, that you have been so open with us to with the questions and the answers and so on. And really, really grateful for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome, and I'm so grateful for all you're doing as well. This is just incredible to be able to just walk into a space that someone else has organized with all these incredible people. So, and so nice to meet you all and see some new faces and learn some things. And yeah, really great to be here.
Yeah. If anyone wants to be connected with anyone, just give us some lines via email. We will try to help.
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And the recording will be open open to for you, all of you, to actually share in your communities. In the we call it the result number 5 in the Agile for Collaboration website. So I publish it here on the. Let me share it again. So the talk of ASC will be shared here. I'm pretty sure some people couldn't attend, but wanted to actually listen to you and to all the wisdom of this group. So we will be adding it in this page. Okay, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, day, and see you another time. Thank you, Essie.
Bye. Welcome. Bye.
Bye.